Okay, very good. How's everybody doing tonight? Pretty good? Welcome to the WC Fields Bar. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to show you a trick that can only be done on Founders Day. A trick that only works in the Magic Castle, and it only works, go ahead Diane, it only works 2 days. It's a story, well I'm sorry, who is not a member here? Let's get a survey first. Okay, a couple of members. You need to know this for the story to make sense. We have a lot of volunteer groups here at the Magic Castle. We have a lot of paid staff, but we have a lot of volunteer groups too. And one of the volunteer groups that's most notorious here are called the Castle Knights. There are tour guides here, our docents if you will, and we have a lot of famous ones. One of the most famous docents we have here is named Sam. Yes, Sam the Castle Knight. Magicians, bear with me, it's going to be a bumpy ride for the next few minutes. I was just seeing one of our famous Castle Knights, Sam, down the main bar a couple of hours ago, and a group walked in and said, Sam, you got to help us out. Our member who's hosting us tonight hasn't arrived yet. We've never been here. What the hell's the story of the Magic Castle? He says, it's easy. It's a club that was formed by two brothers. Well, it was two brothers and one of them was married, so his wife, two brothers and his wife, they had a weird idea years ago to start a magic club, a private club for magicians. And they said, well, that can't possibly work. And Sam said, you're right. And the landlord thought the same thing. But the landlord reconsidered it. He reached into his pocket, he took out his key ring, he took off one key, and he tossed it to the brothers and said, you have a year's worth of free rent to figure it out. So they did. It was like a kid in a candy store. They worked it out. They hammered, they painted, they polished, and after a year they opened. And Sam said they opened on the second day of the first month of the year. And the group says, well, that's January 2nd. Wait a minute, that's today. He goes, yes. Today's a very famous holiday at the Magic Castle. It's Founders Day. It's the anniversary of our opening. And they said, well, how long ago was that? He said, well, it was January 2nd, but it wasn't just a few years ago. It was in 1963. It was a very long time ago. But it's our 55th anniversary of opening here. And so, well, that's a great operation. Well, wait a minute. You guys have been open ever since 1963? He said, well, the brothers at first had an idea that they were going to power down. They were going to close down for a couple of weeks during the summer, you know, when things were light, and then they do all their repairs and stuff. And then they learned about something called cash flow, when they realized shutting down wasn't such a good idea. And after they recognized their error, they stayed up. And for all intents and purposes, aside from major holidays, we've been a 7-night-a-week operation for, well, this is 2018, so 55 years. We've been open for 55 years so far. It's a really good deal. It's a really good deal. They said, that's a great story. He said, hey, you know what, Sam, let me ask you a question. I said, we just parked the car and we got a ticket. What do we do with the ticket? And Sam said, well, you usually pay for your valet on the way out. Well, how much is the valet? Well, that's easy. If you're a member, it's $3. Oh, wait, no, they raised it. It's $5 this year. They raised it for $5. Yeah. If you're a non-member, it's like 15 or something. I don't know. Check with the front desk. They'll know something. Oh, thanks, Jeff. They went on their way. Sam did his business. The group went around their way. Go ahead, Diane. Help us out here. They went about their way. Sam went upstairs. The group went up to the dining room. You know, it's funny. They walked, just before they left, they asked them, they said, what's the story about the food here? And Sam says, well, I gotta be honest with you, our reputation here wasn't that good for a long time with the food. But that's all changed. We got a new executive chef here, the food is excellent. If you're a steak lover, the best steaks in the house. They said, well, what are we talking for entrees here? What are we talking? Sam says, well, entrees are in the $30 to $40 range. It's pretty much how they run here. It's pretty good. Well, you know, Sam, they should give me a great help. Here's a $2 tip. Let's take that for yourself. And Sam's like, oh, a $2 bill. How quaint. You know, I saw the group later on. Sam went up to the inner circle, or up to the palace diary, did something else. I forget what they did. I saw the group later in the dining room where they ate. And well, you get the idea. Now later on, I saw them up in the hallway. I walked up to the group just as Sam was walking through. They greeted Sam again. They said, Sam, what the hell's the story? This is great. We're headed to the palace, but we just read the show schedule, and there's like shows all over the building. How many theaters are there? And Sam says, well, I think there's 7 theaters, 7 different theaters there at the Magic Castle. And they said, well, wait a minute, you change the acts every week, right? They said, yeah, every 7 days, every Monday, they change acts. 7 theaters, 52 weeks a year. Who does all that booking? Sam had a big smile on his face. So the booking's done by getting Jack Goldfinger. Great guy. You're going to love this guy. It's fantastic. He said, the group said, oh, what's the story? Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is where I came into the conversation. I'd forgotten my own script. He said, what's the story? I said, who's coming in the next couple of weeks, Jack? Who's coming in? He goes, well, not this week, but the next couple of weeks, you read Genie Magazine, right? I said, of course, everybody reads Genie Magazine. The cover boy for this month's Genie Magazine, January's cover boy, John Lovick, Handsome Jack, is coming up in a couple of weeks for the month. Oh, that's great news. I said, who's working down at the WC Fields bar? He said, well, this week we got some asshole with long hair, but next week, Jack Medlevine next week here at WC. Fantastic, great actor, I love it. I said, well, now what's the story? Oh, Jack said, that's the bonus. 3 shows up in the parlor is Phil. And I said, Phil Goldstein? He said, no, Phil Van T, real tall son of a bitch. You might know him. I finally found a use for this prop. He said, but you know, Phil Goldstein, he doesn't go by the name Phil Goldstein anymore. I said, oh yeah, changed the Max name. And he said, funny you mention that, because Max will be here in the next couple of weeks doing a show. That's a joke that's staying in. I don't care who gets pissed off. I tell you folks, one of my favorite stories of the Magic Castle, I've always said the Magic Castle has more whack jobs per square foot than any other place in the world. And that's true. But we have some of the most creative individuals too. We have some of the most colorful characters of any building ever. One of my favorite characters is a woman who came here years ago, and she saw some shows here at the castle, fell in love with what she saw, went home and thought about it. She was already a performer. She went home and thought about it. Next day she called the entertainment director, who at the time was our president, Bill Jr., and she says, I'd love to work in the Magic Castle. And he said, well, that's fantastic. What kind of magic do you do? Well, she said, no, I'm a magician. I'm a mime. I can't use that. But she went on and learned magic. She went on and learned some magic. She got very, very good. She became one of the most talented magicians ever. She was 2-time stage magician of the year, Tina Leonard. You know what I'm talking about. A very famous woman. That's one end of the spectrum. On the other end of the spectrum, Sam was telling the group, we have a character named Alan Bursky. They said, well, he said, well, he's not a professional comedian, he's a stand-up comedian. Oh, how do we recognize him? I said, when you're walking down the hallway and Bursky's walking toward you, you're going to know. When he arrived, just talk to us when you're going to know he arrived. Again, that joke is staying in. I don't care who pisses on it. And the group says, Sam, that's fantastic. You get another $2 tip. Another $2 bill. Wait, I've got 2 now. What the hell do I do with that? Okay, story goes on. The group went on. Sam went on his way. I went on mine. The group went on his. Diane went on hers. Diane gives a hand here. Thank you very much. Right? I ran into the group later on just as Sam was walking up to them. They said, we just came out of the close-up gallery. You wouldn't believe what we saw. We saw a guy, I had a card picked. Guy put it back, shuffled it in, couldn't find the card. Couldn't find the card. Eventually he brought out a big insurance policy, unfolded it, it was a big piece of paper, and there was my card. Sam says, I know it's a very famous trick. He said, Sam, let me ask you a question. Be honest. When I picked that card, was that a force?
Force.
Screw you, I'm using that joke. And Sam says, no, it wasn't a force at all. It wasn't a force at all. So they gave me an excuse to get rid of the force on that trick. Okay. They said, Sam, I gotta be honest with you, we've had a wonderful night. We belong to a lot of clubs. A lot of clubs all over the world. Some big, some small. Clubs everywhere. We've been to them all. We've even been to that place in Disneyland, that Club 33. We've never seen a place like this before, never. And here's another tip for you, that's fantastic. Sam says, you know what? I'm gonna take all your tips, I'm gonna put them down in the hot top hat down the front desk. Because those girls work all night, they earn it, they really earn it. For me, I'm happy to give the tours for free because I love the place. Because he says, ever since I was a little kid, I was like 7 or 8 years old reading Genie magazine. He says, I've been learning about the Magic Castle. I learned a story about how a man, his wife, and his brother formed what I think is the greatest magic club in the world. Just licking your lips on your butt. Appreciate it. And leave that on the tape. I'm buying for the people on Facebook to go, why the hell did he say that? Very good.